Hey everybody, and welcome back to Project 224, where we are committed to applying the true knowledge and wisdom found only in Christ to the everyday world around us. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
What's up?
What's up, Paul? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
So here's the first question. I'm going to ask you.
I think I know what this is.
Do you feel older?
I do.
Happy 40th.
I know.
A little few days after your birthday, but you're now 40.
I know.
You know what that means? You're getting closer to free breakfast at Denny's.
Yes. Wait, when do I get free breakfast?
Don't they say that? I mean, you're closer to it than you were before.
I want free breakfast.
I think it's like 60.
Do I get a Grand Slam? What do I get?
I think you get whatever you want.
That'd be awesome.
I know. So here's the thing. So do we pay for that? Because that money's coming from somewhere.
I mean, yeah, it comes out of our...
Does it come out of our taxes somehow?
What? No, wait.
I think we're paying for everything. I feel like we're paying for everything, So,
bro, we are. Let me tell you something, and this ain't even what the episode's about, but I'm just gonna break this down right now. So, there was a study that just came out, and I saw it in USA Today that said the average American, so average income, I think around 60,000 or whatever, they pay more in total taxes. So when you take federal tax plus Medicare plus
Social Security,
if you pay state tax plus Social Security plus like the tax that you pay for the county and your property taxes and then even sales tax, all that, you pay more in tax than you do for, I think it was food, clothing, and shelter.
That's ridiculous.
I think the average person pays somewhere around $18,500
a year
in taxes.
That's ridiculous.
And it's like $14,000 if you're to add in like rent plus food.
Wow. I wonder how much money we would get as a people if for 1 year, just 1 year, the government said no taxes for a year. What would happen? I think the economy would boom.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
people are going to spend it.
But I'm just a peon, and I don't know anything.
No, I mean,
these are smart people in the government, so
I mean,
they got to make their money.
They're smart, but they ain't.
They got to make their money.
They ain't righteous.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. Man, so much money. That's weird how we got on. I don't even know how we got on that. We went from you turning 40 to being angry at taxes.
I don't think our taxes are paying for Grand Slams for.
Okay, got it. I see.
For older people. Yeah. I think, and the prices even aren't that bad, but I think that goes for about what we pay.
I haven't been to Denny's in a while, so I don't know.
Man, so they opened a new one like half an hour from us, and we were getting like our oil changed or some car thing, and we're like, well, while they're doing all the car work, why don't we go over? And I'm like, they just opened Denny's, so it's going to be clean.
The kitchen's got to be pretty clean, right?
And it was good.
Yeah. Have you ever eaten at a what's the other place?
IHOP.
No.
Waffle House. Oh, yes.
Waffle House is the 2 a.m. when you're traveling.
Say, the only time I'm able to eat at a Waffle House is after midnight and like before 7.
Yeah.
It has to be, it can't be, I would say even before 6. It's got to be like, I'm about to make bad decisions.
Yeah. It's almost like you don't want people seeing you getting out of your car, walking in. So the sun is at least got to be down. You know what I mean? Like, all right, kids, hurry. Get in there quick.
I'm just saying their pecan waffles are delicious.
I mean, they're bacon. I mean, it was greasy as anything, but man, it was like bacon. It wasn't just like these little strips of paper with
what I'm talking about.
Bacon flavor, grease drizzled on it.
Speaking of bacon, so this is another funny story. So,
hey, thanks for sticking with us, everybody. By the way,
I walked into a room, in the hospital the other day, and I was going to examine a patient, and they had just been in a car accident.
You're laughing at this.
Not at the car accident. So I'm examining the patient, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, it smells like bacon in here. It's so strong. And finally I couldn't hold it. And I was like, have y'all been making bacon? It smells like bacon in here. And the wife was like, I knew it. I knew it. Yeah, I told you people would know.
They're making bacon in the room?
No. So they had made bacon. Like, I think he's keto because he was like in really good shape. I think he's at least high protein, if not keto. And she's like, he eats like a pound of bacon a day.
Oh my goodness.
And so she had fried up a whole slew of bacon. And then they had got in the car accident. And then they came to see me. But it was awesome because I'm like, I'm not even mad. Like, she's like, it's this hoodie. I made the bacon and I was wearing the hoodie and
wait. So you're telling me
it's better smell than a lot of smells that come in.
For me to lose weight, I can eat a pound of bacon a day?
Bro, let me talk to you about keto for a second. Talk to you about eating steak and bacon all day.
My day. What kind of?
I know, right?
What kind of foolishness is this? I'm taught a lie. So it's either kale or bacon. I'm pretty sure which one I'm gonna pick.
Exactly.
Come on. Can't wait to go home and tell my wife.
It's bacon.
Hey, we gotta go to Sam's and get some bacon.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to Sam's today, so I'll see what bacon's on sale.
It's always on sale at Sam's. Oh man!
Oh, this is great, and we are sober. So, it sounds like we're losing our minds.
Mommy, what's sober?
Oh man, it's a beautiful day here in Florida, and that's why. Oh, and last thing, you know what else is exciting? We just saw the new Amazon van, so that was pretty exciting to talk about.
Because Amazon just got a hub here.
Right?
It's what is it called? Last Stop.
Last Stop. Daytona, we get a bunch of random things here. You know, like Whole Foods, whatever.
Yeah.
But okay.
That was good. So good. It's good to laugh. We have to cover a hard topic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to laugh in the beginning. So what we wanted to talk today is actually a follow-up. You know, we said that I remember one of the last things we had said about in the previous episode where we had covered this. So this is going back almost a year now.
Yeah.
Was the unfortunate tragic shooting of Botham Jean and or is it Botham Jean?
I think it's Botham.
Botham Jean.
Yeah.
And we said, we're going to see what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been following, and actually, apparently everyone's been following it.
Yeah.
Some tragedy and some good has happened in it. You know, the tragedy remains just the whole situation. The tragedy remains that a man is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even more tragic is the fact that he's dead not because of his own doing. He's dead because of a terrible... I don't know the specifics of the case, but at least from what I've understood from the case, and if I'm wrong, then I'm sure we'll be told that it was truly a set of multiple mistakes by a young lady that caused the death.
Right.
And so she ended up thinking she was in the wrong apartment, and errantly thought that he was robbing her, even though he was watching TV, eating potato chips,
sitting on his couch. Yeah.
And told him to get on the ground. He refused. She thought that meant he was resisting and shot him. She was a police officer. Obviously, at this point, she was an off-duty police officer. And she thought that she was in her house. She was either a floor up or a floor down.
Yeah, she was on the wrong floor.
Her floor, and... So that was very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunate.
I think something like she noticed that didn't it say like the door was kind of cracked open a little, so she thought
open. So there was lots of things that she should have, or no, I think it was either cracked open or unlocked.
Unlocked, something like that. Yeah, and she said she doesn't leave it unlocked or something.
Correct. So a lot of unfortunate things. I will say a grace that we have in this is from at least what I understand, it seemed that Botham was saved.
Yeah.
And so there is a mercy in the fact that for him, he doesn't suffer in this world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For him, he doesn't have to deal with all of the hardships that we're left with. Lord, when he is with our Savior, that would be great. So that can be a comfort. But in the meantime, so the trial happened. She was brought up on charges, which I was happy to see, because I felt that was appropriate.
Yeah.
And
she got 10 years?
Right. 10 years? So here comes the sentencing. And a couple of things had come, the judge had told the jury that they could consider castle doctrine. So castle doctrine, if you don't know, is the doctrine that says you're allowed to defend your home.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody comes into your home, in some sense, if they're not welcome in Texas, as in actually where we live, you can shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's reasonable. If you're in someone else's home, why are you in their home? Like, if you break in, I mean, if they're invited into your home for a party, you can't just be like, I can shoot you at any time.
Right. Hey, put that chip back. Can't do that.
But, if you feel threatened in your own home for some reason, then you're allowed to do it.
I do believe in Florida, didn't they extend it to your property now?
Yes, it's the whole property.
It used to be the home, but now it's the whole property. If they're on your lawn and they threaten you, yeah.
So, they say they consider that. Many people are like, here we go. Here's how they're gonna say she's not guilty. And the jury I think the jury took less than a day.
Yeah.
Deliberation came back with the guilty verdict and was given 10 years. So that's the first thing that I think brought up. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about was, people were asking, was 10 years long enough?
Right.
And I know that was something you and I had talked about, and I spent a lot of time considering it, and that was something that we were talking about was, how do you decide what is a just thing in this? How do you decide that what is a man's life worth here?
Right.
And so, biblically, one of the things that we go back to is where did we go to? Numbers. I think it was Numbers 35.
You're talking about where it says vengeance.
Yeah. Well, so it talks about, verse 30, if anyone kills a person, the murderer shall be put to death at the evidence of witnesses, but no person shall be put to death on testimony of one witness. So, and then they even say here, which is interesting, you shall not take ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death. So even if it doesn't matter, rich or poor, I guess there was a thing where back then, if you paid enough money, you could pay a fine and you could ransom the person's life away. And they're like, no,
right, the
person is to be put to death. And then, but there was a thing that talks about if you've done something by accident, how they actually had cities of refuge you could go to, and that's actually in Numbers 35.
Almost like an exile type.
Yeah. So you go to verse 23. It says, or 22. It says, but if he has pushed him suddenly without enmity, or threw something at him without lying in wait, or with any deadly object of stone without seeing it dropped on him. So they're talking about accidents here. They're talking about suddenly, maybe you're joking around with him and you pushed him, not realizing maybe he was next to a pit or something happened, or maybe he fell and his head hit a rock and he died. Or maybe the deadly object. So maybe you tossed an axe to him. And you shouldn't have tossed it. You were joking, or you were just playing around. You tossed it to him, and I mean,
we've seen stories of kids playing with their parents' guns in their house by just we've seen stories of that. And
something happens, boom, person dies. Or you drop an object. Maybe you're just throwing rocks. You're trying to clear the side of a hill. You're throwing rocks, and you didn't see someone's walking under, and a rock hits him, and he dies. So what do you do at that point? Well, they said they set up cities of refuge. The person would flee to the city of refuge and stand before the congregation. So he would admit that he killed them. So you admit your guilt of killing somebody.
Right.
And then you say, but it was an accident. The congregation, there's a trial that happens, and then they discover the evidence and witnesses or anything like that. And then if you're found to be an accident, then, let's say start the other way. If it was found not to be an accident, you're put to death right there. If it was found to be an accident, you have to stay in the city of refuge. You're not allowed to leave that city. You can live freely in the city, but you can't leave that city until the high priest dies. If you leave that city, you can be put to death. So that's how God dealt with it in the Old Testament when Israel was around. Well, what do we do with our stuff today? Because, the penitentiary system was never something that was meant. So penitentiary, it comes from the word penitent, which was old, and it was a Christian view that we could help reform people if we simply disciplined their life.
Right.
Talk about missing the gospel. So instead of giving the gospel, it's if we can discipline their life, you can become penitent, and therefore you pay enough, and you can reform this person to be a profitable member of society. So that's where the penitentiary system came from, and you're supposed to sit there and become penitent, and they'd give you a Bible or, whatever, and you'd have time to think about it. And we know that doesn't change hearts. Only the Word of God changes hearts.
Interesting, the Catholic faith.
Right.
Uses that.
And that's what they would do. That's why you had a very strict schedule. They had a uniform. You did this, you did that, because it's we're going to structure your life and show you how to live. And it's well, that's not how you change a heart.
Right.
So we have this system that honestly isn't just in the first place, right? Because who pays for people who are going to jail?
Yeah.
We do.
Right.
And in the case of the Botham Jean thing, the Jean family, now that their son has been killed by this woman, she's going to jail for 10 years. But part of their tax money is to pay for her to live.
Yeah.
Well, how's that fair? So it's like not only are you missing your son and your brother, but now you're missing now your money's going to keep their killer alive.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a interesting justice. So I don't know how to answer the question. How many years? All of that to say, I don't know how many. How do you answer that? I don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those things where everyone's gonna have their opinion, because even when you and I talked, in my first thought was like, man, that only 10 years, but that's me basing it on, you look at other crimes that happen,
Right.
and people do less and are in jail for longer.
Right.
And I guess and you and I joked beforehand, or maybe did we just talk about when we were talking about like 20, like how old was he? 28. And so no, we talked about it beforehand. We didn't talk about it on the air yet, did we?
Oh.
And
no,
we were saying,
yeah.
Yeah. So we are saying like, what do you base it on? Like someone's life. So if you're 28, then what if you kill somebody that's 64?
Right.
Then do they get 64 years? And so it's just like, it's opinions. So, but there's no like hard, concrete, if someone does this and they get this amount of years, or this amount of years, It's just like when you get a ticket you're driving, you get a ticket. A lot of times, if you look at a ticket, you have no clue where you're getting, well, where did you get this number from?
Bunch of
Yeah. Did you just make this up? So, man, it all goes back to the garden, and how in the beginning, when God created man and woman, there was no sin whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which means none of these questions existed. They wouldn't have been. There was no need for it. And then when sin happened in the garden and they took of the fruit that they were not to, well, then this is where everything just broke loose.
Right.
And perfection was broken. And we are now still reaping the consequences of that day. And it comes down to questions like this, So then immediately after that sentence, if you look at it, there was protests outside. People saying, well, why is this woman, is it because she's white? Is it because she's, because she was a police officer? Things like this. I just read something the other day where another police officer, not to get off this subject, but another police officer got probation. I don't know if you saw this.
Yes.
Was it like child molestation or something like that? And he got probation.
Right.
I don't even know if he got fired. He got probation, and so that's causing. So then you say, okay, well then where's the justice in that? So it's the whole justice system. It's broken, and here's why: is because the ultimate justice system is God.
Right.
And He's given that in His Word.
And that's something I think we as Christians need to remember. And you're right. There were protests, and there's actually protests, and so we'll bring this next part in, and then I'll go back to what I was about to say. So the next part is and shame on me for forgetting his name, but Botham Jean's brother. Mm-hmm. I'll have to look that up.
I'll look it up.
But so after the guilty was declared, then came testimony, and some stuff came out in testimony. She had made some tweets that could be construed as racist or racially insensitive.
Right.
She, it was one or two tweets. And so there is definitely skeletons in her closet, and that all goes to like her character, and they're trying to say whether or not she really did have hatred towards the black people generally. Maybe she didn't specifically hate Botham Jean, but he was a black guy, and so she was more quick to do something because of her bias.
Right.
Well, then the family spoke, and the brother spoke.
So his name is Brandt.
Brandt.
Like Brandt.
Brandt Jean. Yeah. So he spoke, and he came out, and it's been very popular on the internet, and rightfully so. He came out and basically said, if you're truly sorry, I just want you to know that I forgive you. And then he even said, like, I don't even want you to go to jail. I know, my family probably doesn't want me to say that, or these people don't want me to say that, but I don't care.
He said, I'm speaking for myself and what my brother would want.
Saying, because I know what Botham Jean would want, and that would be for you to give your life to Christ.
Right.
I mean, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then he asked the judge something that is I've never seen before, and that was, can I hug her? Can I give her a hug?
Yeah.
The judge allowed it, and they did. She ran. I mean, if you see the video, it's almost like she didn't run, but she walked very quickly, and they had a very tight embrace for a significant amount of time, and there were lots of tears.
Right.
And it was powerful. Mm-hmm. It was powerful to see that forgiveness. And then you had multiple things going on that I thought were good that we need to discuss. You had one side of the coin where people were like, we should never do that. Like, When he did that, he just erased. We shouldn't be forgiving, allowing people to get off that easy. Mm-hmm. He erased the justice. He erased this, and it specifically was, some of it was specifically going towards what's happening with Black people in our justice system today.
Right.
And they said that forgiveness shouldn't be expected. In fact, there was a quote from somebody who said it should never be, forgiveness should not be expected in this case. Mm-hmm. And that hurt because this person was a Christian. And I'm sorry, I just don't care. And I know we've talked about this before. So color does not matter when it comes to what God has commanded.
Right.
If you are a Christian, God demands forgiveness.
There's no color scheme when it comes to Christianity.
God demands that you forgive someone. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons we don't want to forgive is because we think if we forgive, then justice won't be served.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to go back to from before is, well, how long is going to be necessary? Because what is his life worth? His life is worth more than 28 years. Mm-hmm. It's worth more than all of it. Mm-hmm. Because he's an image bearer of God, and God's worth more than it.
Right.
So what do we do? Well, here's the thing. We won't get justice here. The justice system that we were supposed to have here only approximates the justice that God will truly give at the end of the time.
Right.
And that's what we have to understand. You won't get justice here on earth ever.
That's good. Romans 12:19 says, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God." Right. Okay, so let's pause there for a second. So no matter what I do to someone on this earth doesn't even come close to the wrath of God being poured out on somebody for what they've done to me.
Absolutely.
And then it says, "For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord."
Absolutely.
So, okay, I can rest on that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To say, okay, God's got this. Like, that my job is to forgive. And it's hard to forgive. Like,
yes,
especially in that situation. I'm reading this thing, I guess this morning, he was on what was the TV show? Good Morning America. Mm-hmm. Their family was on Good Morning America. And so they were talking to the father and the brother and the mom. And it said here that Brandt Jean, the brother, said, "Each and every one has steps to get towards actually forgiving. I probably went through those faster than other people. If you were trying to forgive her, understand that she's a human being." So he's kind of going back to the Imago Dei. He's understanding that. And then it says that his father, I guess his father's name is Botham Jean. So you got the whole B thing going on.
I was going to say.
He said, he told CNN on Thursday that he felt the same way that Brandt did. And he said, I wouldn't want to see her rot in hell. I wouldn't want to see her rot in prison. He added that he expected the sentence far short of the maximum of life. It could have been a little more. But his mom, Allison Jean, told NBC News that she isn't sure she would have reacted the same way her youngest son did in that moment, although forgiveness is anchored in the family's Christian faith. And she said, "I don't want forgiveness to be mistaken with a total relinquishing of responsibility."
Okay, and that is that will be the other side of the coin that I absolutely agree with her on. But when we talk about forgiveness and we talk about justice, again, there's two ways that God shuts our mouths. And that is, one, his justice is going to be either poured out on Jesus on the cross,
right? Which,
are you going to tell me that Jesus isn't enough justice? That wasn't enough for whatever sin committed against you? That's not a just thing. Or it's going to be poured out on the person in hell. Which, again, are you going to sit there and tell me that justice hasn't been served when the person is forever in hell? Being tortured in one sense,
right?
Not in one sense, in a very real sense,
right?
So they're either suffering in hell forever for their sin against you, not just you; it's against God, or your sin was put on the cross. And in either way, justice has been done, and that's how God shuts our mouths, because He's the one that has avenged this sin,
right?
And so forgiveness is demanded of us. And I understand there's an emotional aspect to it. And I'm not sitting there saying, as soon as whatever, that you're sitting there going, that there's like some timer where we all, if someone were to kill my child, the first comment shouldn't be from someone like, "So have you forgiven him yet?" I understand that.
Right.
Okay. But forgiveness needs to be given. Because God has forgiven us, because God has demanded it from us.
Right.
He says, after the Lord's Prayer, if you don't forgive your fellow person on earth, I will not forgive you in heaven.
Right.
he's talked about, the parable of the two servants, where the one servant was forgiven a debt that he could never repay. And then what does he do? He goes out to another servant who owed him like 3 to 4 months worth of money and trying to shake him down. And then the king brings him back and goes, how dare you?
Right.
How dare you do that when I have forgiven you so much?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Same thing. So we have to forgive. And every person who writes or says something that you can't forgive, you shouldn't forgive, I would say that's against what the Bible says.
Yeah.
However, let's flip the coin.
Okay.
This is not a movie either. This is real life. The movie doesn't end with Brandt Jean hugging this lady and then they all live happily ever after.
Right.
No. There's still consequences here. There's still things that we go, there was a wrong. While we can't get true justice here, so we do need to forgive anyways, because we're never going to get true justice here on earth. What we do need to do is we can approximate justice the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
So she still needs to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
There still needs to be some things done. I don't know everything that had gone on, but I know that supposedly, and it's just I don't know the facts. But I know that there was some things within the police department that looked like there was trying to be a possible cover-up.
Like cover-up, right.
So, so whatever that was needs to be fixed.
Right. It needs to be put out there, too. For
Just
the public
because you
consumption.
forgive someone doesn't mean you're telling them it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's not okay.
Right. And that's exactly what I just read about what his mom said.
Right.
You know?
And that's where I would agree with her.
Yeah.
100%. Don't conflate forgiveness with me telling you it's okay that you did this. It's not okay. Yeah, I have 2 children. If somebody killed my children, I'm telling you right now, it would not be okay.
Right.
I would not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life-changing event for me.
Mm-hmm.
Forever, my child is dead. And even just saying that
thinking about
is
it,
causing me to almost tear up. So it's not okay.
Right.
But I can still forgive.
Yeah.
If Stephen can sit there while people are about to stone him and say, Father, forgive, for they know not what they do, we can forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mark of Christianity.
Yeah. In leading worship, so many times we sing songs of just that aspect of, I'm singing and praising the one who, if I was in that time period, I would have been the one spitting on him and piercing him and doing all those things. And it's amazing when you think about how God is merciful to us, he's kind to us, and he's long-suffering and patient with us, but he does not, and yet he does, it says that he does forget our sins of our past. But here's the thing, we are still judged according to them through his son, Jesus Christ.
And it's not the forgetting there isn't that he acts like that. The forgetting isn't a true forget. God knows everything. He knows you sin. What he's saying is,
he knows
I'm not going to hold him against you.
Right. Because I put it on my son.
I'm not remembering him in the day of judgment.
Right.
It's on Jesus.
Right. And when we start to realize that, look, we are all humans on this earth. There is no one perfect. And so, man, there's been conversations I've had to have with people that have been hard.
Yeah.
And I've had to say that to them. It's like, man, that really hurt me and I'm pretty upset, but man, I forgive you.
Right.
I forgive you. I forgive you for what you said about me that wasn't true. I forget. And, and my sinfulness doesn't forget it sometimes. And I have to really fight against that, to not live my life according to that. But that's what the Christian life is. And so for this young man to sit in a courtroom, filmed by news agencies around the world, probably, and to literally be a picture of the gospel is awesome to see.
Yeah. That's a strength.
And I think that as Christians, man, it's so easy. And I think we're going to talk about this on our next podcast, but it's so easy to hold on to celebrity, just pictures of celebrities doing things and sports people doing things. And so many times we forget that, man, there are Christians out there trying to do what's right. And God is putting them in situations for us to see, I'm still here. Right. I'm still working. I am real. The gospel's real.
Amen.
My message is real. Just open up your eyes and see it. And, you and I, we've talked about, we see on Twitter, we see on Facebook, we see all over the news that there's Christians out there skewing this picture of what this is, of saying there shouldn't be forgiveness here. Who are you to cast the first stone?
And truly, that's the thing. If you're saying that, then you have to truly question whether or not the gospel is within you.
Yeah.
Because you know where a forgiving heart comes from? It comes from a person who's been forgiven.
Right.
A forgiving heart, and obviously, I'm not going to say that each and every time, because people who aren't saved forgive as well, but someone who forgives understands who they are.
Absolutely.
And except for the love of Christ within me, except for the Holy Spirit within me, I can do terrible things. I know I'm capable of doing terrible things because I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my own sinful heart. But God has taken that heart and he's washed it, right? Just as Corinthians says, but such were some of you, but you've been washed.
Right.
And so, a forgiving heart knows, and most of them have been touched by the gospel. If you don't think forgiveness should be given here, I question your salvation. I honestly do. And I don't say that out of animus. I say that out of a plea. Please check your heart.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Just like what the Father said, I don't want to see people rot in hell.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Why? Because my Father doesn't want to see people, God doesn't want to see people rot in hell. It's going to happen, and there's a difference in his prescriptive, descriptive, and all those things, those type of wills. But he doesn't want people, and I don't want to see people in hell. And so I would beg for you, if you haven't experienced the forgiveness and the freedom that comes through forgiveness in the gospel, and this type of thing is holding on to you, because maybe some people are struggling with the fact that this isn't justice. And I'm going to say with you, you're right.
Right.
This isn't justice. But I have bad news for you. You will never find justice for everything that's happened to you in this world. You never will.
Right.
Because it'll never be enough. Why do you think when somebody goes and kills one person, why do you think the other people want to respond and kill 5 people of the other?
Yeah.
Because it's never enough.
Right.
And then what happens? And those are going to kill 10 people, and they just start lobbing back and forth. The bloodthirst, the rage that is never satisfied here on earth. It never has been. It's only satisfied on the cross. And if you've never experienced that, I beg you to do that.
Yeah.
I beg you to come to the gospel and experience the forgiveness of God. And then that frees you to forgive other people, knowing that you've been forgiven, but knowing that God is just what you said, the person who is the avenger. And true justice one day will happen for every person, for every sin.
Right.
Will be accounted for, because God is absolutely just.
Yeah, that's good. And I think just to kind of wrap all this up in a practical way, if you're listening to this right now, just like Paul just encouraged us to, if you have bitterness or, you're holding animosity towards someone, I would even say now, like if you're in your house or if you're driving, whenever you stop, pull over and ask God to forgive you those things. Because here's the thing, you do not want animosity and anger and all those things festering in you, because you're just going to become a wicked pit of just despair. And how can you encourage others when you are living in this?
Right.
And so, pray for those things and pray that God reconciles the relationship that you are, harboring against someone else.
Right. Harboring hate. Right.
Yeah, harboring hate, because that's not what we're called to do as Christians. So I've been encouraged by that story. I know a lot of people have. And here's the thing, it's been not only encouraging to us as believers, it's been encouraging to non-believers to see this.
Absolutely.
And the fact that God is the one who's getting glory in this, and the family is exalting Christ in this, I pray that as Christians we would, behoove this and live our lives according to this, and get past the politics of the church, get past all these things, and just get back to the foundation of the gospel of what God has called us to do. So that's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Hey, we thank you for sticking with us on this one. And drop us an email. Tell us what you think. project224podcast@gmail.com. Get your t-shirt. Except I think if you're a medium, I think we're running out. And then we're also on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Just drop us a comment. Instagram. You know what? We're not on Twitter, are we? I just lied to everybody.
Oh, you get off Twitter?
Oh, no. Are we on Twitter?
Oh,
yeah, we are on Twitter.
Yeah, because I see the emails.
That's right.
We're on Twitter.
We are on Twitter.
You didn't lie.
Shows you how long it's been since I tweeted. I'm sorry about that, guys. So, anyways, drop us a comment, say what's up, and then leave us a a 5-star review.
That's what we need. Helps. We need reviews to move up the charts.
Tell your friends.
Yep.
And your friends' friends.
Your friends' friends.
And just take out an ad on a billboard, maybe.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
And then take a picture and post it on our Instagram. Yeah. That's the other thing. All right, so the other challenge is the Better Than Butter challenge. Also, if you have a t-shirt, take a picture of it somewhere randomly and post it on our Instagram.
Yeah, tag us on your Instagram. That'd be great.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, we
love you guys.